Good morning, Jew.
Good morning to Jew, too.
Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Gold. I'm in Oakland.
I'm Katie Halper in New York City.
Well, Chag Sameach. Happy Passover, everyone.
Happy Passover to you.
Or Pesach.
Pesach. Good Yontif.
You know how when you text and you shorten everything, you could just shorten Pesach to just...
Yeah. Happy.
This week on Morning Jew, we have a bunch of stories for you. Of course, it's Passover, Pesach today. We'll talk about that. There's the Passover killer, unfortunately. It's kind of hard not to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then we've got, following up that goodness, a kind of weird version of an attempt to kill Jews, where there are none, by the way. He killed no Jews in an attempt to kill Jews.
Yeah, we will talk about that.
Yet, in a place where they did nothing but kill Jews, in fact, almost all the Jews, except for the few that got away, they named a town Kill Jews. We're talking about Spain, of course.
Of course.
And there's a town in Spain with that name that's looking, finally, a few years later,
a little late.
Name.
Joy.
So we're following up our Hitler circumcision week with Jew attempt killing and Passover. Let's go first to the happy good times. Our usual segments, Name That Jew. This week's Name That Jew is a super interesting woman. I performed at a show with her this week as part of my Passover celebration. She's a performance artist and former porn star. I don't know if that gives you a sense of who she is. Her actual name is Ellen Steinberg, and then became a porn star and performance artist. Is famous for touring the U.S. with a speculum that people could look up and see her cervix. That really put her on the map in the performance art world. And none other than Annie Sprinkle, Ellen Steinberg.
Shalom, Annie.
Nice Jewish
Ellen.
Girl. Yes,
nice Jewish girl.
Her performance piece for the downtown Seder was she was the carpus, the bitter herbs, and she made these wreaths, these two circular wreaths that she wore on her breasts and dipped them into the salt water.
Lovely.
We're going to dip the parsley in the salt. Now, you'll want to do this twice. So first, once. And then twice. You may want to shake it off a little bit.
Not going to dip.
It's a San Francisco kind of a Seder.
I can't believe they are Jewish. This guy grew up in California, although he was born in D.C. His father is of Scottish descent. His mother is named Florence Plotnick. And she's the daughter of Russian Jewish immigrants. Both of the parents were communists, and they actually named their son after...
You're like beaming. Look at your face.
This is not one of our high moments
You're
for communism.
so happy.
They named their son after Joe Stalin. And I'm talking about, of course, none other than Country Joe McDonald, a.k.a. Joseph Allen McDonald, from Country Joe McDonald the Fish. And Country Joe is a term for Stalin, and the fish is a reference to a Mao Zedong quote.
Wow. So my Pesach, my Passover so far was performing at this downtown Seder, which the guy who was during the knitting factory has done in a bunch of cities. But this was the first year it was in San Francisco, and it was Annie Sprinkle and Country Joe McDonald, and I really enjoyed it. It was like my idea of a Seder. Like there's going to be a little performance art, a little singing. There's going to be some comedy. Louis Black had a video. The food was pretty good. I'm like, this is great. Your Passover experience, since you're not from a very religious, like your family doesn't even have a Seder. Au contraire, Heather, we certainly do. That's definitely a family tradition in my family. First night of Seder tonight, Passover.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's true. I didn't know that. But
you guys aren't doing a Seder on, like, tonight is the first Seder, tomorrow's the second Seder.
We're doing it's called the third Seder. Maybe you've heard of it.
Oh, really?
I just started it. And no, we sing Dayenu, we sing Adon Olam, and then we do the Elijah thing. We do the.
And for people who don't know, these are Adon Olam is a song or a prayer that's sung at the end of services all the time,
okay.
And it's got some nice tunes, so people sing it a lot. And Elijah is a prophet, and there's this moment in the Seder where you go and you open the door and you put out a cup of wine for Elijah. It's one of the more
like an alcoholic.
It's one of the more mystical little moments in Judaism.
Yeah. And you leave a seat open for him, right?
Yeah.
In case he comes, lest he arrive late. I feel like I had a little bit of a bracketed Passover because Saturday night I was at a church that is also having a Seder. It's the only church that I've ever heard of having a Seder, but they had an event for Pete Seeger. Very lovely songs. News bit that's related to Passover is that there is actually in the Great Lakes region a whitefish shortage. It's like an emergency, and they're freaking out.
There are people running around with rye bread. You can't have rye
with
bread.
No
it's
white
Passover.
Heather. Oh yeah, I would expect that from me, but not you.
Well,
but yes,
the story is that no one had time.
We didn't have time.
Let's do it. We're gonna do. Okay, this is 1 minute Passover.
At
Ready?
Same time. Yeah.
1 minute explanation of Passover.
All right.
The Jews were slaves in Egypt.
Slaves in Egypt.
We built
Moses
the pyramids.
got whipped by some asshole. No, Moses didn't get whipped. He saw someone getting whipped.
That's right.
Right. Thank you. He had a sister in a basket.
He identified
Miriam.
with the Hebrew being whipped because he himself was Jewish, but he was raised secretly as the son of the Pharaoh.
Right. I forgot about that part. Whoa, so Freudian. And then he had a sister named Miriam. She pushed him in a basket. Was he in the basket or was Miriam in the basket?
He's in the basket, baby in the
Holy, we started a thing. Instead of like Holy Baby Jesus, my friends and I started saying like Holy Moses in a basket.
It sounds like a hot dog you could order in Alabama. Holy Moses in a basket. It's a very archetypal story.
So and he saw a burning bush.
Listen, who doesn't want to see a burning bush?
I was waiting, too. So okay, so he leads the Jews to freedom, right?
Parts the Red Sea, miracle time. It's all the magic. It's like all the good magic stuff you get.
Why isn't there a musical about it?
You know what?
That's another thing that Morning Jew could do. He could start producing musicals.
I would love it. So anyway, the thing is that everyone had to leave. It was like, let's get out of Egypt real quick. There was no time for bread, so they really observant. You don't eat anything leavened. The thing is, when you eat all this matzah, you become nothing. You can't let anything go. That's what happens.
Right.
Okay, so in our next story, which is just unequivocally bad for the Jews. We're going to say that. I'm going to say that before I even introduce the story. It's the worst anti-Semitic attack in probably my lifetime in the U.S. A shooter,
a guy named Fraser Glenn Cross, who sometimes went by the name Fraser Glenn Miller. Maybe he liked the band.
Went to the JCC in Kansas City, Missouri.
The Jewish Community Center.
And a Jewish home for the elderly. And he shot and killed 5 people, and 3 of them he killed.
One of the women was visiting her mother in the nursing home, retirement home.
That's one of the
she regularly visits. And then the other people who died was a teenager and his grandfather. And
none of the people who he killed were in fact Jewish, so he sort of failed on a small level in his attempted hate crime. He's an
underachieving hate crimer.
Yeah, he's a long time. He used to be a grand dragon of the KKK and very racist. And when the cops put him in a car, they got on camera
saying Heil Hitler, right?
Yeah, but with a southern accent, which adds a certain kickiness to it. I'm wondering if there's just a different reality for people above 65. They just live in an era where because Jews were so much more oppressed when they were young in North America. If both the people who still believe it's that bad are that generation, and the people who are still that anti-Semitic are that generation. Although there is a rising neo-Nazi movement in Europe now.
Feel they have less time once they get older. They need to start doing stuff.
It becomes more of a priority.
Yeah,
you're saying? It's
YOLO. It's YOLO thinking. You only live once.
Right. So our last story today is a pretty amazing story. It's springtime, and in Spain, that means it's time to kill Jews.
Kill some Jews.
So there is a town in Spain called Kill Jews. That's the name of the town. And somebody got the bright idea recently, April 2014, maybe.
Why not?
Change the name.
It's never too late.
The mayor decides, I think the village has, 60. It's got 60 people in the village.
60 families. 60 families. You never know how many kids they have.
The village has had this name for 1,000 years. 1,000 years. And
1,000 years? What year would that bring us to?
1035.
So before the Inquisition, that's
long
interesting.
before the Inquisition. Listen, things like the Inquisition or the Holocaust don't happen as spontaneous.
I know. It's not like I know. In fact, it was called the Jewish Hill. I think it's had the Jewish Hill name for 1,000 years.
It was called Castrillo Jews Hill because a lot of Jews who were leaving a pogrom came there and stayed on the hill.
You make it sound like a party. They were leaving. They were on their way out from a pogrom,
running away from trying to be killed, and they went to this place, and this place kind of became like a safe haven for them. And then, as most people know, in 1492, Spain was like, let's kill or expel all the Jews in the country.
Right.
And they changed the name from Jews Hill to Kill the Jews.
Right. Because it used to be Castilla Mota de Judíos, and now it's Castrillo Matar Judíos. Because once the Inquisition happened, they were like, hey, let's spice it up a little bit. Not just the Hill of the Jews. Why don't we just call it like Killing Jews or To Kill a Jew?
Okay. Well, they say that they have this Good Friday tradition of drinking a mixture of wine and lemonade.
Right, which they refer to as Killing Jews.
Well, it says that they used to also call it Kill the Moors.
Well, no, that's a different name that they have. Matamoros. It's actually the Saint James, who is the patron saint of the conquest of Muslim Spain.
Hold on, you know who a saint is, who's the patron saint of a conquest in Spain, but you don't know the name of when Yom Kippur is? Katie.
I don't not know the name or when it is. I don't know whether it's Yom Kippur or Rosh Hashanah, which is about atonement. I studied in Spain.
Well, somehow Good Friday, the name of this drinking thing that they do on Good Friday, is also called Killing Jews. So they're proposing they change the name back.
You know why? Because they used to, I just found this out here, but that's because sometime during Easter, they would publicly execute Jews who were conversos.
Right. There you go. So even if you try to escape being killed in Spain by becoming Christian,
right,
they would still come and kill you in the public square as an example, as a way to celebrate their religious holiday of Easter. That's a good time.
What says the rebirth of Christ more than killing a Jew or drinking spiked lemonade? In all fairness, it was 1492 when they started calling it. It was Jew Hill before, but when they really took it to the next level, killing Jews, that was only after
went all the way through the Holocaust, and we're like, let's just keep the. You know what? We've already got the postage stamps.
Exactly.
We've printed up the stationery. So they're about to vote. This town of 60 people is about to have a vote.
What a shanda it would be if they vote to keep it.
So we'll go back over the stories today.
All right, yeah.
Passover, including your Pete Seeger celebration and my performance art celebration. Good for the Jews. Passover is the best. It's my favorite holiday.
It's really fun. Manischewitz, I love it. I know people
wish I was having another Seder tonight. It's the big.
I'll take pictures from mine.
Holiday with all these people. It's really fun. It's this great.
So good for the Jews and
it's
the Pete Seeger
liberation and leaving slavery.
And the Pete Seeger thing is good because there's an adorable girl, and you'll see some video of her who just did her own thing at the concert.
So the KKK 70-year-old.
God, this is a hard one. I feel like I'm really. No.
There's a debate for you.
That was the joke. That was the joke, Heather.
I'm gonna keep that in. So yeah, now we have the largest anti-Semitic event in American modern history in the 21st century. But somehow, miraculously, no Jews were killed. Not that that's good because it's just as terrible that other people were killed. It's just a weird way to feel a little better about this guy not getting what he wants. And then so finally, Spain's voting town, Kill Jews, is voting to change their name back to Jew Hill. We don't know if they will, but it's up for a vote. Good or bad for the Jews?
It's a little reminiscent of the pogroms. If the vote goes through, it would be hysterical if they voted to keep the name. I would kind of love that. I think, that'll be a step forward. One huge step forward for Spain, one teeny step forward for,
if
anyone
they vote
Jewish.
to keep the name, then I think they have to be forced to put in front of the name proudly, just to really own their anti-Semitism.
Name says it all.
Proudly.
Kill Jews. Proudly. I thought you were using.
Or you could put in parentheses after it. Kill Jews. We mean it.
Right.
For real.
History.
Yeah. Reaffirmed. 2014.
Right.
So listen, it's been an uplifting week of liberation and people thinking about killing Jews. I'm grateful to live in a time where I feel safe enough that I'm in America where if I'm going to be killed, it could happen, but not because I'm Jewish. Probably. Unless I'm in the middle of the country near an old anti-Semitic guy.
We'll see you next week.
I'll see you later. Have a good Passover. I'm wishing you freedom to all of our Morning Jews. Listen, everybody, we now have Patreon, which is a way for you to support the show. So if you want to support Morning Jew, which we'd love it if you would, and there's lots of awesome rewards, including us watching your Bar Mitzvah video and doing commentary,
how fun would
messages. It's the best. We would love it. We can come. You can find a way for us to come to your town and perform with you. Patreon.com/morningjew.
That's all a Jew have to do.
Just Jew it. All right. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.